What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Welcome back to another episode of What If You Could, and this is part 2 of our interview with Oscar winner Greg Cannom. And in this episode, we talk about some of Greg Cannom's favorite actors and directors, and some of the people that he's worked with. Could be a little fun and interesting. Thanks for listening, and welcome to episode 2 with Greg Cannom. I know that you must get this asked 1,000 times, but who was your favorite person to work on or with?
Well, I have several. Gary Oldman was incredible. What an actor, and to get to do
Love him.
that, the Hannibal makeup on him and everything. And he's just the best. And then Christian Bale in Vice. You know, I had heard stories about Christian Bale, and he was the best, the nicest, just so professional. And to see him bring that character to life and how well that turned out when that started out as a big disaster. And it's just, it's just so funny how it all works out. Christian Bale in Vice, I had done a test makeup on. He'd never worn prosthetics before. He goes, am I going to be able? I had a couple of weeks to throw together something to do a rough test. He looked more like Chevy Chase old than he did Cheney, but it was promising. And because of that, they got the film greenlit eventually. And I had a few months to do it. And then at one point, I thought I had it down, and they didn't want to add too much weight to him and everything. And then I put prosthetics on him. He goes, am I going to be able to turn my head? And I go, oh yeah, it's just like skin, and he's like, oh, okay. So I did it, test, and then right after that, it didn't look right because it was too thin. And the trailer had come out for Gary Oldman in the Prime Minister of England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was Winston Churchill.
With Churchill.
Yeah.
With that heavy makeup on. And he goes, can we go fatter? And I said, I knew you were going to say that. And so then I was able to do what I wanted to. And I finally got it down to where I thought it was it. And he goes, I'm not happy with it still. And there was a week before shooting started. He goes, let's try it a little heavier. And I went, oh, come on, it's heavy enough. Come on. And so we spent the whole week doing a new makeup on it, made it heavier. And Saturday before shooting starts, they do the final film test. And he walked out in that room with the glasses and the suit and everything, and everybody died. I was the most shocked in the room how good it looked.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And he was so happy with it because he had in his thing, if it didn't work, he didn't have to do the film, Yeah. So, and he was brilliant in it. And I was so upset when he didn't win. But yeah, I got to win for that year. I've won like every decade, I think.
Yeah.
An Oscar, but anyway,
what was it like?
You never know what's going to happen. I like doing it. It's fun, so much fun for me because it's such a challenge. Sometimes it doesn't work. And even then it's like, well, if I'd had more time, I probably could have done this or that or something.
So they don't give you an idea. They don't say, well, we want it to look this or that. You go in and based on the character, you go, I'm going to do this.
I tell them what I think. It's like I just did a film, which I ended up not doing because my health went down, so I couldn't go do the test makeup. And the person who did it, it didn't end up well. And so I gave it up. But I told the director in the beginning, good friend of mine, and I told him, and he goes, subtle, subtle, subtle. And I went, no, no, no. This actor, his face doesn't look anything like this. I don't have a decent face cast because he's got a beard on this movie he's shooting now. And I did, with what I had, I did 4 designs from very subtle pieces to a full blown face makeup like Vice. And I said, you should do all 4 of them or 3 of them because you don't know what's going to happen till we really get to do it on him. And no, 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 it's got to be subtle, subtle, subtle. And so I did the subtle pieces only, and they tried it and it didn't work. And they ended up, somebody else did the full blown type of a thing, which I don't know if it worked or not. I never saw it. But so you got to try it all.
Yeah. And so that's
You
what
got to try it.
is your expertise or specialty, is it the aging? Is that something you
That's
really
what
enjoy, is the aging?
I was known for, but then also I've done a lot of horror, which I love. I did Mummy Daddy on the Tales from the Crypt. Was that the TV show?
Yeah. Yeah. Tales from the Crypt.
Amazing Stories. I did a bunch of horror makeups and Tales from the Crypt. Uh, just a lot. I did The Lost Boys, which made me famous because somebody else had The Lost Boys, and they're all like, "Oh God, this looks like a cheap horror movie." And they called me in at the last minute, and I flew to England and had the contact lenses made because I wanted to work the makeup around the beautiful contact lenses I had made. And once again on that, Kiefer had a beard, and I hated always on Star Trek when they had all the forehead stuff going on, but nothing on the face.
Yeah.
Didn't balance out ever. So I did the subtle demonic brow on the Lost Boys, but then I also took it down into little cheekbones so that it kind of tied in together with it all. And I did, instead of the gnarly teeth, he said, these are beautiful people. I want beautiful vampire makeups. I want them sexy. And so I did little pearl teeth on the second teeth to make the face look thinner. And I had fun with that. But once again, I did test makeups the day before shooting started.
Wow.
And on
That
that
was a
film,
big hit too. Those guys looked
oh,
amazing. Those
that
guys
film,
looked
it didn't turn
amazing.
out that good. And then years later, became massive on VHS, and it's worldwide. They have things all over the world for it now, and it's
Yeah.
become such a big deal. And then they copied my makeups on what was that show? Vampire Hunter, the girl on TV. Uh, Buffy the Vampire
Oh,
Slayer. They copied it, and I kept going, where's my Emmy?
where's my royalty?
But everybody copied it, which is kind of nice in a way, but I got to do the original and come
Can
up
you
with it.
can you patent stuff like that? Can you have like a technique that's patented?
No,
Yeah, once it's out there, it's out there, huh?
no,
So
even though it's
you've worked on a lot of Robin Williams films, but did you actually work with Robin?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hook worked with him on that. I did the last one I
Bicentennial
did
Man?
which was a lot of work, and I applied it to him, and which was so sad because just not because of what happened, which was terrible, but it was so sad that we'd be in the trailer, myself and my assistant, and applying his 200-year-old makeup. And when he'd look like something, he would look in the mirror and start doing a 10-minute bit on the oldest congressman in the world. And I couldn't work. I'd be crying my eyes out. It was so funny. I'm going, why isn't somebody shooting this? And he'd do it all the time. And Mrs. Doubtfire, when I first did the makeup with V in the trailer, the very first time we put the makeup on him, he looked in the mirror when he started looking like Mrs. Doubtfire, and he went, "Yes, all my girls are clean." in the voice. That was the first time I heard the voice, you know. So it was pretty funny.
Oh my. Yeah, I would imagine he could cut it up, man. He was something else when he set it loose.
Oh,
You
and
told me a story.
Mrs.
You told me I'm sorry, go ahead.
Doubtfire, the script was really nasty. The next door neighbor and the court scenes, it was a really nasty, evil script, kind of with the humor and he ad libbed all that stuff, and they cut out a lot of the bad stuff to where I saw the movie and I'm like looking at it in a theater for the screening, and people around me were dying laughing, and I was just watching the audience because they were, you know, the end scene where he's jumping around and sits down at the wrong table, and people were dying laughing, and I was just like, oh my god, you know,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
works.
it worked. He made it work.
He
Yeah,
did.
he made it.
They were going to do a sequel. They called me up about it to talk to me about it, and they were writing it at the time about his daughter going to college, and he was going to reprise it when that happened with him, and that hit me hard. It still bothers me to this day.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a huge loss. I mean, he was something special. You know, you told me a story about an actress, and I don't know if we can name her name, but she was in a very famous movie that was a huge hit with Tom Hanks. And you told me they brought you in to age her, and she just was not digging. I think you made her look too old and too realistic, and she wasn't digging it. Can we tell that story or not tell that story? Remember who I'm talking about?
No.
The movie happened before Scump.
Oh, did I tell you that a long time ago? Oh,
I don't know if we're able to name names.
oh,
I don't know if we're
Sally
able to
Fields.
name names.
No, Sally Fields.
That's her.
Yeah, that's it. No,
Because
that's one of the things where I did a prosthetic makeup on her to age her and that, and I should have also been prepared to have done the stipple makeup on her because it the appliances didn't work on her the way they should have, and I was jet lagged out, and I should have tried the other version of it, aging her with stipple, which is the only way it should have been done, which they kind of did in the film. And yeah, that didn't work out,
sometimes
which
it
is
doesn't work
fine,
out, right?
which is fine, which is fine. Yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't work. When
she was
you,
very nice. She was very nice.
yeah,
Uh, and
sometimes
then
it
she,
doesn't work out.
yeah.
I mean, when you're nominated so many times, I know you never know what you're going to win for or not, but was there one that you thought for sure you'd win and didn't, or was there one you thought there's no way on earth I'm going to win and you did?
Oh, that happens all the time. You don't know. I usually know how the Academy Awards are going to go. I'm pretty good at guessing, but everybody thought I was going to win one for Hannibal.
Yeah.
Because to me that was a modern day Frankenstein makeup, and I was so happy with that. And Gary pulled it off, and he had no eyelids on his one eye, and people couldn't figure out how I did that. And it it was, and that was another film where uh, what a great director Ridley Scott is, and we talked to specialists at the morgue and what happens to skin and if things are exposed and everything, and veins and they shrivel up and become brittle, just all kinds of. We did all these horror makeups months before with teeth on the outside of the lip, and they look like just like zombies, zombie makeups, and there was no getting away from it. And that turned out that they finally hired Gary on to do it, but they were started shooting already in in Italy. So I had to fly over with Glenn Hans, a sculptor, took him with me, and Gary's face cast in clay. And I got there, and then Ridley Scott goes, "I've changed my mind." And he showed me this painting somebody did of this diseased embryo and with this little pixie nose. And he goes, "I want to do a little pixie nose and kind of this kind of look on Gary, you know." And I'm just like, "Are you out of your mind? What the?" Gary's got a good sized nose and everything. And I'm just like, and I had pictures of an actual accident somebody had done with a dog ripping a guy's face off. Horrible stuff. And so I sat there, and in one day I sculpted that makeup. And I gave it for one day to Glenn to finish up and put pores in it and wrinkles and clean it up and everything, and showed it to him. And he goes, "That's it."
Wow.
After months of trying this and that, and so in 2 days and I got back, and the only thing I changed was the jaw and neck was too normal. So I took a big flap of skin off his chest, theoretically, to graft onto his, and broke his jaw and grafted the skin onto his neck here. And I, did the nose, and I twisted it a little bit off, and it was all burned from the acid from where the dog had swallowed the nose and the acid in the stomach, which actually happened on this one picture we had. But just, and figured a way of clamping his eye open that was safe during the whole shoot. And we shot for 2 weeks with that makeup. And
Wow.
it was frightening makeup.
Wow. What's the deal? I mean, when these guys come in, and my family's been in movies forever, and so I've been able to see some of it, and I know it takes forever to set up a shoot, and then the shoot might take, a very small amount of time, and then they break it down and move on to something else. So, I mean, how long can you spend putting makeup on someone, and then they just need it for a short period of time? I mean, is that common?
That happens a lot. Yeah.
Wow. So they could
There
sit there
was
for a
one,
couple
there was,
hours, right?
when I did Benjamin Button, there was somebody else was going to do the film, a guy in Canada who did silicone makeups, but he could only color them from the inside of the mold. And I couldn't do it that way. I'm a makeup artist. I like to color it on top of the skin and make it upright in pieces so I can get movement and thin spots and everything. And he would do these one piece that was like working with gelatin, trying to glue it on your face. And it was impossible. And it took 8 to 9 hours of the actor lying on his back to put on a makeup like this. And which I'm not going to put an actor through that. I'm going to spend 3 4 hours at the most for like a 90-year-old makeup or something with the wig and everything. And there's no way I was going to do that. So at the time we were figuring out our silicone, that's what I got the technical achievement for with Wes Wofford, which we did on Bicentennial Man, was the first film we used these silicone appliances, and they were just fantastic. It opened up a whole new world. But uh, so I got Benjamin Button and did all these elaborate makeups on it. And I was on that film for 8 months shooting.
Wow. Wow.
And that
So
was
if
a
you
rough
if you
shoot.
spend 3 or 4 hours on an actor, and they go out and do a 15-minute scene, or and
That's
then
happened before because of the location or whatever.
wow, because they can't wear it overnight, right? They can't go home with it and show up the next day, can they?
We've done that before,
Yeah.
but not usually. No, especially the old days. The foam latex would last 8 to 10 hours, and it would just start breaking up.
Yeah.
Silicone, I did. It held up for 24 hour shoot we did on the the Insider, was that film with Michael Mann, and the Russell Crowe film, the first one, the Beautiful Mind, Ron Howard film. They were in those makeups for 24 hours at the very end because they didn't want to go through them again. So we just stayed
Wow.
up all night shooting, and they held up pretty good.
Wow. So you've worked with some amazing directors. You work with Spielberg and Ron Howard and Ridley Scott. I mean, you worked with some really
Oh
talented
yeah,
big time directors.
I did Cocoon with with Ron Howard, and a lot of films, a lot of stuff. Big time directors, Coppola,
Wow.
um, you know, amazing people. Ridley Scott, jeez, he was
Huge.
amazing.
Yeah, he's done some huge films.
Yeah,
That Benjamin Button though was pretty amazing. That was, the way you aged him through all those years is pretty amazing. That was phenomenal. You
and
you got the
especially
Oscar. Did you get the Academy Award for that for Benjamin Button?
no,
No?
no, I thought we should have won that year. But it was well, the Academy's, a lot of older people, and they were really into that film that won that year was
Hmm.
a British film about oh God, the musicals, the guys that wrote the musicals.
Let's see. It was Amadeus?
No, no, no,
No. It
no.
was it was 2009. I don't remember what.
No, anyway, they won, which had some mutton chops in it and that. Who cares? But should have won.
So you didn't get it for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
Yes, I did get it for that,
Yeah,
but
you
not
did get that.
Bicentennial Man. Not
Oh,
Bicentennial Man.
oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, bet the Bicentennial Man. Yeah. What year was that? 2000 was God, who did win that year? I don't
It was
remember.
so funny. I was at the table on Vice, and because my legs were starting to go out, then they put me down in the front table at the luncheon with all the big directors and producers. And I'm at this table with them all, and they're all talking, big time directors and producers. They're up nominated. Oh, let's go around the table and say what we've done. And the one person, oh, I've got one nomination. Oh, yeah, I've won one Oscar before and one nomination. I don't have, this is my first Oscar nomination. And it got to me, and I'm just like, oh, geez. And they go, what did you win anything? I go, yeah, I have 10 nominations. And they go, oh my God, gee. And they and I go, and I have three at the time, because I hadn't won it yet. I have three Oscars. Oh my God, and they were just like, all of them were just like, it was pretty funny.
Wow, that's funny. You're like the Meryl Streep of makeup, man. You've got so many nominations and so many Oscars. That's great.
I know one's enough. It's terrifying getting up at that thing.
Well,
All
I I
800 million
Googled
people
I
live.
Googled a couple of your acceptance speeches,
You
and
don't
you
know
look
what you're
pretty.
saying.
You
You
look
don't
dapper.
know. You don't know what's going on. You have no clue.
Well, you look very dapper, my friend. And how heavy is it? Is it
Terrifying.
heavy?
Very, very heavy. You didn't see it when you were here?
No, I wanted to, but I didn't. I was
Oh,
afraid to ask.
oh,
Next time
next
I come
time.
over, I want to feel that
They're
baby.
very heavy. They're very heavy. They're beautiful.
So you know what you told me that I didn't know, and I don't think anybody really knows outside of the industry is you have to give them back when you pass, right? You can never sell them.
No, no, that's not true.
What do you do? I mean,
No,
you can't sell them.
you sign a piece of paper when you get it saying that you can never sell it to anybody. You can give it to relatives. They cannot sell it. And future generations, they cannot sell it.
Wow.
Period. If you try, then they'll stop you. But you can give it to relatives. You can give it to whoever you want to.
Oh, oh,
It's
oh, oh.
your Oscar, but you cannot sell it to anybody.
So you don't have to
I've
give it
given
back. You don't have to give
No, no,
it
no.
back.
I'm
Okay.
giving mine that I have still back to the Academy
Yeah.
because I don't want anybody to have them, except I've put them in museums with my work. Like a good friend of mine, he's got the Hollywood museum collection that's down there now on Hollywood Boulevard. It used to be the Wax Museum, I think. And
Yeah.
in there, he got the original suits from Dracula and everything. And so I gave him the Oscar to put with those so that people can see the Oscar from it
That's
up
awesome.
up close because
Yeah.
they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's pretty special to win one, but one's enough. I can't. There we go. Oh, it gets easier every time. I go, oh, no, it doesn't. Because you know what to expect. Another secret I learned is if you get nominated a second time and you go down, you take your old Oscar with you. Because then if you don't win, you still get in all the parties. Oh, what'd you
That's
win for,
great.
Mrs.
That's great.
Doubtfire? What?
You just walk up to the door holding it. They're going to let you in, right?
Yeah, they aren't going to read it.
That's awesome. So do you go to the big ones like the after parties, that Wolfgang Puck thing and all that stuff?
I've
Do you
gone
go
through
to
some
those?
of them.
Yeah.
I had so much fun last time because I had to sit down a lot because I'm so old now that we kind of got stuck. I went to the Elton John party and kind of got stuck in the entranceway where they had some chairs sitting there. So I sat there, and it actually turned out to be great because all the people coming into the party went right past us, and everybody would just stop and, oh my God, you won. And they'd hold it and take pictures with it. And I
That's
had
awesome.
I had the best time sitting there talking to people.
That's the best. That's so
Yeah,
much fun. And then you went on to did you kind of get your own makeup line, or did you do something like that, Max Factor, or did you do something with your own makeup line or your own prosthetics or something like that?
well, I opened a lineup with Premier Products PPI, uh, Cannom PM, which is William Tuttle PM makeups. He used to make them in his garage. He has a line of makeups that somebody else sells, but he made his own PM makeups, which means prosthetic makeup, which is castor oil based. So the oils in it don't attack the rubber for the all the old foam rubber pieces. You put makeup on a foam rubber piece and it'll start turning white and cakey because of attacking the stuff in it, the chemicals in it. So it it was a line of makeup. Max Factor made a line of makeup. It was really greasy, oily stuff. And Tuttle came up with this back in the 70s, I think, for Lincoln. He did a Lincoln on, I think, Hal Holbrook for some show. And he came up with this. It was a very dry makeup material that went on heavily pigmented. You could put on thin and it hardly needed any powdering because it was so not oily at all. And I used it from The Howling on. I used it for everything. And then he got older and he said, I can't make it anymore. And the colors were starting to come out pinkish. And so I said, can I buy it from you? I mean, you're the only makeup I use. I've used it forever. And he goes, well, I trust you. I said, I'll give you the formulas to it. You can try making. And he gave it to me and all the formulas. And his makeup at the time, certain chromia green they used in it would go bad after a month. It would get rancid and you could smell it and then turn rock hard and you couldn't use it anymore. So I got it and I spent 10 years trying to make it better and redoing the colors back to his original colors and then some new colors. And um, Joe Belasco, friend of mine, helped me at the time. He said, well, look up these formulas online and see what you can find on there for preservatives and that. And then because of that, I found all these new preservatives that came out, very safe. And I'm able now to where it'll last for 20 or 30 years
Oh,
without going rancid. And it still works as good as it did and even better, but all the colors I have. So I did a whole 10 palette thing of colors, but it's just mostly for professional use.
mm-hmm. And
But
then
it's really good for drag queen makeups too and morticians,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. But anyway.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.